Alright, well, this is my first video ever, um, and I wanted to do this because I'm a new MTB rider, and I was out sort of researching what would be a good bike for me to start up with, especially because cost is definitely a factor at this stage of the game. And I've been riding, and I've had an older Walmart special $200 mountain bike that I've been riding for the last 3 or 4 months. I ended up finding Motobecane, some reviews, some things online. All seem pretty positive, and there's a few videos out there of people similar to this doing this. So I thought I'd maybe record it, not just for me, but also maybe I'll put it up. So the model of the bike is the Fantom DS Elite, and it's the Stealth Super. Again, it comes just like this, all packaged together, pretty stable, pretty sturdy, nothing really moved. Doesn't look like there's anything damaged so far. And the other things that came in it were the post, which sat down in here, and then I believe this is going to be the pedals, which I'm not going to use. We'll see. Hopefully you can see this. Yeah, definitely pedals in here. Alright, so from there I'm going to put the bike together now, and then I'll check back in after it's put together, and we'll go from there. So my goal here was to find a bike that was entry level but still had quality components, or better components than what I was riding. And through looking online, looking at a used bike versus Diamondbacks, entry levels, all of them, just when I compared the components, compared the price points, they were $3, $4, and sometimes $1,000 more than this bike. And there are different levels on bikes direct. You can get a full carbon framed 1x12. You can even get this bike in a 1x12, which I think is $1,100. So at the time when I started looking at the bikes and deciding on what I was going to probably do, I settled on this because it was not the cheapest but not the most expensive in their entry-level world, especially after riding a month or two. I knew that I didn't want to jump too far, so this was a good price point. And I've seen other people riding this bike or similar, maybe a few years old, and it appeared that they were getting what they needed out of it, so which is what made it a lot easier to make the decision. Main reason too why I wanted to make the video is for the same reason for anybody that's getting into it, especially when they're like me, over 50, not sure of their capabilities, but they definitely want something that they can feel a little bit more confident with. So what I thought I'd do is just walk through from front to back what the bike has. This is on their website. I've made some notes because I've gone through the internet and pulled all of this stuff, and I'll show you what they sent you with the bike actually makes this a little bit more obsolete. I did it for my own sake to make an understanding of kind of the quality or what I was getting, and in prep for setting it up. So the frame itself, as it reads here, it's a Kinesis engineered aluminum, single pivot point, so that's this thing. And the other high quality ones, there's two pivot points here and here typically, which gives it a little bit more flexibility in play, but this is a single. And again, this frame is made by a company in Taiwan, which makes a lot of bikes. And this frame should look familiar to like a Santa Cruz, where this the chain rail and this bracket are actually coming above the chain. But again, it's a technology that's been out, and a frame that's been out for some time. The front fork is a Suntour. It seems to be solid enough. It even said on here at the bottom it's not meant for jumping and all this stuff. I took the sticker off, but it'll be good for what I've
what I'm going to be riding. But the Suntour's an entry-level quality shock, I guess. It doesn't have a through bolt, you know, so that'll probably be something I go to next when these wear out, or I've done my riding on it. It does have a lockout for the front fork, so if you were doing something that didn't require, you wanted some stiffness and locking it out, you could. There are things online with Suntour that you can buy, and you can progress the suspension, so you can shrink this out. I think this is at a 120. Oh, 100. Okay, yeah, 120 millimeters, which they indicate a 4-inch travel. And then there's also a preload. So I haven't adjusted any of that yet. I haven't even ridden the bike yet, really, except for sitting on it a little here in the garage. But I'll be setting this. There's instructions that came with the bike that indicate how to set that. So that's solid. Again, I got the tapered headstock, which I thought was really a good touch for an entry-level bike. Way more stout, and it would be something I could fit any new fork on. I've seen people put the Fox forks on here, RockShox, all quality brands. Up here we got hydraulic brakes, and then those are Shimano, as well as my shifters are Shimano, and again these are listed in here, and they're online, so you can see all that. Feel like they're quality. I've never used hydraulics yet, but they feel like they're very sensitive already, and they're set. I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do is burn in the discs, and I should be ready to go. Again, it's an 3x8 drivetrain, so as I've said before, I'll likely go to a 1x down the road, if not buy another bike that's got the higher quality stuff. But that'll be a few years down the road here. Grips are just your basic, I think they're VP grips, VP clamp-ons, single clamp, although they feel good. The bar is aluminum, but it's a 760, I believe. Handlebar, yep, 760 millimeters, and it's a 31x8, so it's common stock size. The stem itself is a 90 millimeter. It says it right here, and it's a Tioga. I think that's how you pronounce it, but it's aluminum. But I can definitely tell that this length is probably going to be something I may not like. As the bike sits on the ground, it'll tend to want to fall over. With the rake set the way it is, I'm a motorcycle guy. I put new triple trees and forks on bikes before, and I've raked them, and I know that you can have a fall over with that when this is too far. So this will probably help me if I shorten it up, maybe to a 50 mil, 60 mil. But it does feel good right now when I'm sitting on the bike, especially compared to my other one. That's the thing. It's just night and day on the difference. But this will probably shorten up. I'll ride it for a while, and then maybe down the road, because these are inexpensive enough to get $50 or something to get a new one, maybe even less. So we'll see. I did like that the cables all route internally. I thought that was a nice little touch. Not all other bikes do that, and a lot of the entry-level bikes I saw, especially at this price point, don't interior route. The other thing you'll see is there's a routing port here. That's for a dropper post. So to come in here, and then there's an exit here, and then actually there's an input right in here in the seat tube. So you'll be able to interior route a dropper post, which I thought was awesome, because this is a 27.2 millimeter diameter. There's options out there for it, but a lot of them are in a lot of these entry bikes, you don't have internal routed cabling. So I was really happy to see that this had internal routing, and I could have even more options on what I could get with a 27.2. So everybody's putting dropper posts on. I've been running one obviously without one. This one makes it a little bit more difficult because I need an Allen key to adjust my seat height as I'm riding. So I'll be probably looking at a seat post or a dropper post sooner than later. But the internal routing I thought it was pretty cool. Getting in here into the rear shock. So the rear shock, it's listed up in here, is a KS 582RL. If you can see, it's an EXA form. I looked this up online. A lot of information on how to adjust and the quality of it. It's again an entry base, but it feels good already. I sat on this bike a bunch of times last night and couldn't believe how much difference it is from my other bike. I mean, dramatically different. So I haven't set the sag again. I'm close, I think, because when I sat on it, my travel, I got to stiffen it up because I'm going way past the 25%. But there's plenty of stuff online on how to adjust the sag and how to set it. So I'll be doing that soon, later today. But it feels pretty good so far, especially for an entry level. And it's got a 2-port air connection, so I think I can set the sag and the preload that way. I gotta read it more into that. I don't know enough about it, but it was interesting to see 2 air ports on here for adjustments. So not bad for an entry level. Again, WTB seat, fairly basic, only single point of pivot, which definitely after I started adjusting it last night, yeah, it will be nicer to have a 2-point pivot adjustment, but it works fine, and it didn't take me too long to adjust it. So that was pretty good. The one thing about this, yeah, the seat post definitely was too long. I put it on last night, and the thing is way up here because of this angled seat tube. You only get to this point before you stop, and you can only go too far anyways because you've got your dropper post feet in here. But I cut 3 inches off of this post. Didn't want to. I started there. I probably could take another inch off. This feels pretty good, especially with the amount of flex I get in the rear end when I sit. I get to the ground pretty easy, but I still have quite a bit of length left. They had, a 4-inch minimum set on their post. I have plenty of that left, and will be definitely at the height that I need to be when I set my feet on the pedals. So that'll be fine. There's plenty of stuff online to show what the best height position is for your legs, and I made sure I was there before I cut it, but I definitely couldn't have ridden it the other way. It was so high, even all the way down, that I couldn't really get on the bike safely, and it was overstretching my legs for the pedals. Not a big deal though, cut pretty easy with a hacksaw. I filed it down, tapered the edge, and it fit right in there. I put the blue tape on there for now, knowing that that's the bottom out. So when I pulled it up, I made sure that I still had my 4 inches of travel, or 4 inches of post left. That more than got me to the height that I needed to do some uphill pedaling. But I'll probably ride not much higher than this all the time. I just wanted to get it low enough so when I did do some riding down and I had to do some berms and jumps and stuff like that, that I wasn't getting rocked off the bike with the seat. So, but that worked all right. A little discouraging when I had to cut it, but it's fine. And I'm going to replace it anyways. Coming back into the rear, again a single pivot. Gary Fisher, Santa Cruz's all sort of had this style. You'll see lots of them. At first when I saw it I was a little confused, but the more I saw what previous mountain bikes were set like, this was a common design. I do like that they have good cabling straps all the way through the bike, so when it does come out of the frame, it does sit in place pretty good. No kinks, no, still plenty of play. The pedals are mine that I took off my old bike. They seem to be working pretty good. The pedals that come with the bike obviously are typically throwaways, cheap, but they work actually very good for what I do. The derailleurs and front derailleurs are all Shimano. Shifters are Shimano, so you can see this rapid fire. The cassette is a Shimano, and that's all listed, so you see the 8-speed. The tooth on the rear is 11, 13, 15, 17, 20, 23, 26, 34. So I appreciated the 34 being on here. I'll probably ride the bike a lot in that 2-1 on the front, and it felt pretty good last night, Yeah, so it's fairly quiet considering, again, an entry-level bike. This definitely is something, I'll wear the hell out of this thing, to be honest with you, before I switch it. To put in a 1x12 or a 1x10 or any 1x, it's a lot of money. And it was one of those things where I made a decision to go this route first because I knew I could change it later if I wanted to. But if I didn't really like the bike setup or just wasn't feeling it, I wasn't throwing another, $300 at the bike. But if things work out well and I really get good use out of it, when I go to the 1x12, costs will have come down by then. I'll have a little bit more options maybe, but I've done well with the 3x in my old bike, and I'm actually getting a taller rear gear, which is going to help my climbing. I do pretty good with the climbing here in the high altitude. I'm about 7,000 feet here just in my house. So when I'm getting up into some of the other areas around Colorado Springs, it can get up to the 8,000-9,000 foot mark. So you're definitely thinning your air, and I definitely can feel it. But having that taller gear, that 34 tooth, is definitely going to be helpful. And I felt it yesterday when I was setting the bike up. So, all right. The tires, WTD, or WTB, I believe they're called. Again, I'm new, so bear with me. The Nano comp 27 TPI seem to be pretty flexible, and I noticed that the sidewalls have definitely got some flex. I don't have them fully pressurized. They're enough to let me sit on it, but these valve stems are new to me, so I don't have the right gauge. I can't actually check my tire pressure because I don't have an adapter that fits on my gauge to check them. I can pump them with my hand pump, but they're not quite there. They recommend 35 to 65 psi, so I'll probably run maybe 40 pounds, get some flex out of them. But they feel pretty good. I mean, they're supple. They're only a 2x1 that come with the bike, so I definitely want to go to like at least a 2.5, get a lot more surface area. I mean, you get a lot with the 29-inch anyways, but I definitely want more sidewall surface area. Maybe a teeny bit taller, but they feel pretty good when I sat on them. They're definitely supple, which is up here where I'm at with the such dry areas. I like to have a little bit of flex, and that's what I noticed when I set up my other bike. I definitely had to flex those tires out a little bit to get a little bit better grip. Yes, I will be removing these, although my wife doesn't want me to. I'll be taking these off, but for now I've just left them. The tires are tubeless ready, so there is a tube in here now, but online, and they've got lots of information on Bikes Direct, the setup of the rim and the tires. So they can be converted to tubeless. I won't be doing that for a while. When you read online, you can see there's a little bit of work to do that. But there's good instructions. It doesn't seem to be too hard. But I'm just gonna wear these tires out. Maybe go to a Maxxis or a Continental. I've seen a lot on Continental now. So I'll likely go away from the WTBs. Not that they're going to be bad for me, especially as an entry-level guy, but I just, the grip set and the sidewall grips seem to be a little stronger and a little bit more versatile with the Maxxis or the Continentals that I've seen, especially when I've seen people review them. So, again, hydraulic brakes, rear setup. I'm not touching the face, but the angle, so I made sure I wore gloves last night when I put these on. One of the things about this back area is when I started putting the discs on, there were these washer strips, and there's a little dimple on each side. A lot of people, I had to read up on this because I'd never seen them before. I didn't need to use them. All the bolts have Loctite on them. Everything has a torque setting either on the product or in the books that I got. So that wasn't too hard, but I did have to look into where those strips and how they were to be positioned. I wasn't sure if they should go on the underside of the disc or on top. They are supposed to go on top like a typical lock washer. So that's what they're meant for, is to be a lock washer. Lots of people said that they don't even install them. I chose to do so. I said it earlier in the video when I was doing it. And it's fine. I think it actually I like a mechanical look anyways. It doesn't have to be all smooth, so if you're really worried about the look, you don't have to put them on. And they do indicate resin only. Oh, these are 160. The thing that took me quite some time last night, and I got a teeny bit frustrated with it, because some of the people online have said that when they set their bike up, it was set. This wasn't quite that simple. It's a little hard to see because it's darker over here, so I apologize, but this front shifting mechanism, I forgot the name of it, sorry, it's rubbed. It took me quite some time. I even had to adjust moving this on the pivot point of the seat tube, because I kept getting either rub here, or when I'm in my really smallest gear here, and smallest gear in front, that this chain is sitting down and it's sort of it was rubbing in different points. So between adjusting here, pivoting this, if you can see that I tried to get this as close as I could to set inside that inner groove as you move the pedal, as you move the gear. It's close, it's tight. So it took me a minute. This all was fine. I didn't have to set any of the stops. I did this one a teeny bit because I was dealing with this rub, but this I've done no adjustment, and it seems to be working fine. I'll know more after I actually get on the bike and put load on it, and I've read a lot on adjusting derailleurs and setting them the appropriate way, having the right line. All of this looked great when I got the bike put together. I had to set this a little bit just for the chain tension, but this was solid, so I felt really pretty good about that. These guys, I didn't know this, and there's stuff online, so it's not a big deal, but these valves I've never messed with before actually have a little screw that stops, so that you can then put your tire pump on it and air it up. Without the right adapter, like your typical tire pump, you can't get anything on there. So that's why I can't check the tire pressure, because I am using regular Schrader valve gauges, tire gauges. So I have to get an adapter that allows me to go from that to a tire pressure gauge. So that's the bike. I hope you get something out of it. Hope this ends up being something that helps you in making either a decision. I will be putting a video together on my ride with this bike on the trails, and I'll tie it into this one to help even further make a decision if Bikes Direct or a Motobecane is something you're looking at. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and safe riding out there.